Gregory, and I'm the Head of Sales and Marketing for Intelligere. So you are aware, Intelligere is an end-user compute specialist with a 20-year history focusing on the design, deployment, support and supply of all manner of EUC solutions for organisations of all sizes in all verticals. Joining us today is Lorna Crawford, the Head of Pre-Sales for the UK from Login VSI, and she is going to be running us through the Experience Level Agreement, or XLA concept. Login VSI is a software development company that over the last 8 years has developed a suite of end-user compute management tools that are now considered leading edge, and it's for that very reason that Intelligere has become the UK partner for Login VSI, where we've invested in sales, implementation and support capabilities. After Lorna, we have Martin Powell, Intelligere's CTO, who is going to talk us through the support services we can provide that embed the experience level agreement into all of the metrics and activity that we deliver, ensuring that our customers understand the experience that their IT users receive from their EUC and application delivery functions in their organisation. Please do feel free to ask questions using the chat function in the webinar software, and we'll collate those at the end of the session. The session will last about 30 minutes, so without further ado, I'll hand over to Lorna to take you through the Login VSI view of experience level agreements.
Thank you very much, Marcus. So this is the year that the Berlin Wall came down. It was the year the first ever liver transplant was performed. Madonna sang Like a Prayer, and every child wanted a Nintendo Game Boy for Christmas. And the year is 1989, so give yourself a pat in the back if you got that one. From an IT perspective, 1989 was also the year that service level management documentation from ITIL was first published. From there, the first service level agreements were derived. If we think about the technology advancements we've seen in the past 3 decades, and in an era where innovation is at the heart of every successful organisation, it's quite surprising that SLAs haven't changed much. Over the last third of a century, service delivery organisations have optimised the IT operations services that they provide. However, as you see from this chart, most of the improvements focus on the data centre, the help desk, asset management, change management, and making sure that that governance checkbox is ticked. Mature organisations have gone as far as to guarantee SLAs with metrics surrounding availability. So is the system provisioned? Is it online? Reliability. Is that service consistently accessible without interruption? Then maintainability and serviceability. So that's measuring how quickly and effectively a service can be restored back to normal after a failure, including the assistance of third-party suppliers where required, and also defining the frequency and duration of any maintenance outages. So for the past 30 years, our IT teams have provided services with a focus on whether the system was up or not, and they took into account things like CPU utilisation, memory usage, storage input and output, and typically the status being reported is pretty binary. It's either on or off, it's green or it's red. But status tells you nothing in terms of what the end user might be experiencing. The system might be up, CPU might only be 20%, but you can still get reports of a slow application performance. These metrics simply do not go far enough to ensure that the end user experience. Even if you can log on to the server, it doesn't mean you can start your application. Even if you can start your application, it doesn't mean you can perform your task in a timely manner. And if your internal employees are having difficulties accessing the technology with which they provide a service to your external clients, then you're going to see a drop in employee engagement and morale, decreased staff productivity as they struggle to get the job done, and as a result, your staff are going to deliver a poor service to your clients. Ultimately, you could risk reduced revenue. A large, well-known German car manufacturer recently outsourced its desktops to a reasonably priced desktop as a service organisation. They happily signed up to a very high service level agreement with big penalties should the service not deliver. The desktop as a service organisation delivered an available and reliable service which was always up, always on, in accordance with that SLA. However, the service was so slow that the employees just couldn't work or perform their daily tasks. The service level agreement measurements failed to account for the end user experience. Now, sadly, this manufacturer had no agreed method of capturing any meaningful performance metrics to prove that the service was just not fit for purpose. What was needed was an experience level agreement to ensure the right level of service to the end user. This year, Gartner has been encouraging managed workplace services providers to differentiate themselves by providing positive business outcomes and much more meaningful metrics to the customer. Other analysts are on board too, with McKinsey and Company highlighting the shift from SLAs to customer experience as a focus area for global business services teams. The problem is the IT help desk staff have a limited view. They can see that the system is up. The SLA RAG chart, or red, amber, green chart, looks green. CPU utilisation looks low. But when the end user calls through to the IT help desk to report a slow system, they're either met with disbelief or asked to define slow. So let's take a moment to think about the impact on staff of having slow systems. First of all, the employees will take longer to perform typical daily tasks. They become unhappy with the tools and employee morale drops. Not all the employees take responsibility to log a ticket, so the problem may be bigger than it appears from reports. Staffing an IT help desk to cope with a large number of tickets is costly, overtime payments might be required to meet deadlines, and employees' personal lives can be impacted with that work-life imbalance. And ultimately, staff turnover costs can increase if the employees leave, and you might lose some revenue too. So slow applications are the most common performance complaint about infrastructure, as reported by nearly half of the respondents to the VDI Like a Pro End User Computing Performance Survey. Survey results came from 250 people from 28 countries. If we think about driving a car, it requires focus and attention on where the road is going, whilst maintaining an awareness of what is happening in your peripheral vision. Focusing entirely on past performance against a detailed SLA might drive you down a different route than that of your desired business outcomes. Collecting system metrics typically means that you report these at the end of the day, the week, the month, or the end of the quarter and the end of the year, and that's against your SLAs, but always giving a rear view mirror review of past performance. And real users behave in a very random way, so therefore it's difficult to compare their activity on a day-by-day basis and get a baseline or a typical performance pattern from which you can develop meaningful trends or experience level agreements. Over the last 30 years, technology advancements have given end users many more options in terms of where and how they access the company systems. Think about bring your own device. It might be as well as bring your own complexity. There's laptops, tablets, and smartphones. The operating systems for them could be iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac OS. Then you've got all the different versions of the operating system. So even if you're on Windows 10, are you on release 1803, 1809, or maybe 1903? Then you've got locations and networks. Are employees in the office? Are they on the wired network or the wireless network? Are they inside the firewall or outside the firewall? Can everyone at home get super fast broadband? Are they attending conferences where thousands of other people are trying to access the Wi-Fi all at once to stay connected? Or are they connecting over 3G? Does your SLA account for all of these conditions? How could you measure it? So once you've got a complex environment with teams responsible for different parts, or worse still, some of it's outsourced, then this is going to be a familiar picture. It's a kind of pass the buck culture these days. The network team versus the infrastructure team. The Citrix team versus the Windows operating system team. Or heaven forbid, did the security team apply a patch? So all joking aside, a VDI environment is complex and everyone is unique. There are many individual component parts which can affect the overall user experience. So even if you think you're happy with your stable environment, you have to account for changes. If we just pick out a couple of layers here from the stack, firstly, Windows. There's Windows 10 updates happening twice yearly. Secondly, applications. The rate of software application updates is accelerating as organizations mature and adopt DevOps methodologies and toolsets. Last week, the TSB were back in the press for another internet banking issue affecting hundreds of customers. And back in 2018, 1.9 million customers were locked out of their TSB accounts following an IT upgrade. The Guardian reported that a total estimated revenue loss of 330 million and a loss of 80,000 customers. So with all this change, can you be certain that you still meet your service level agreements after you've implemented each change? And even if you prove CPU, memory and storage work well after the change, how can you be sure that the end user experience is positive? Will your end customers be happy with the outcome? The global public cloud computing market is set to reach $258 billion in 2019, and providing data access from anywhere is the top reason for cloud adoption. Service level agreement metrics are widely published for cloud providers, but what does an SLA of 99.9% mean? If we look at it from an outage perspective, that could mean 8 hours, 45 minutes, and 36 seconds per year of downtime for your business critical applications. But even if the system is up, how long does it take to log on? How quickly can you access your cloud CRM system and produce a quote or book an order? Can you do it fast from home or from your remote business partner locations? Organisations who want to go from 99.9% availability to 99.9%, or otherwise known as the 4 nines, need to prepare for doubling the cost of their infrastructure. So why focus on increasing SLAs when an XLA could achieve a better business outcome? Meeting an SLA doesn't guarantee that the customer is happy. You need to put the emphasis on user experience or customer experience. So what could you start measuring to better understand your user experience? Let's think about application performance. Things like the speed to log on, or maybe the application average response time, or testing continuously to see how the performance changes over time. Capturing application failures early before everyone is affected. So what business benefits and positive outcomes could you see for your clients and users by delivering against XLAs? Things like efficient employees with increased productivity. Reduce tickets with your IT service desk. That could equate to lower IT costs. Quick resolutions of customer inquiries could equate to an increased speed and quality of service. And you could also have employee and customer retention. According to Gartner, technology is the enabler towards delivering better business outcomes. Outcome-based contracts, which include experience level agreements, could improve employee engagement by 30% in the next 3 years across all of your staff. They could improve staff productivity by 30 minutes a day by 2023 for every user. They could increase revenue by 5% by 2025. Have a think. What metrics would you like to include in your XLAs to help you get ahead of your competition? Now, the good news is that we've got a solution which can give you an understanding of the end user experience and help you start working towards an XLA. Firstly, our solution enables you to measure and benchmark good end user experience. It captures the time it takes for the system and the applications to load and to perform simple, everyday tasks. And it does this for each of your locations, so you get a true understanding of the impact of network performance and other influencing factors. Secondly, our solution uses synthetic users, and synthetic users are great because they can work continually and they provide feedback about your system status and its responsiveness from an end user perspective. They don't take home a wage, they never need a coffee, cigarette or comfort break, they never go on holiday, and you can schedule them so they don't sleep. But critically though, they perform task workloads to give you a performance baseline that you just couldn't get with real users. Thirdly, our solution allows you to proactively test the system on a continuous basis, which gives you meaningful results from which you can do trend analysis and even predict future trends. And fourthly, our solution helps you do preventative performance testing, so your users are never aware of a change when it's been implemented because you've already tested the infrastructure to make sure you've provisioned enough CPU, memory, and to ensure availability and performance of your virtual desktops and applications, we place a synthetic user on your production environment alongside your real users. The synthetic user comes with an out-of-the-box workload which simulates a real employee carrying out their day-to-day work. So for example, it will carry out tasks in the Microsoft Office toolset such as opening an email in Outlook or editing a spreadsheet in Excel. The workload also performs certain Windows operating system tasks like opening Paint, Notepad, the calculator, or opening a zip file. And all of these tasks have timers, so as the tests execute continuously, the system collects the data and presents it in a performance dashboard. The beauty of the workloads is that they are repeatable and consistent, giving a baseline response time of the system from which you can develop performance thresholds and set up automated alerts for the end user experience. And by placing one synthetic user in each remote location, You can get an understanding of the end user experience right across your environment. So let's have a look at an example. StarTech is an American organisation with 50,000 employees delivering world-class customer engagement as a business process outsourcing service. Their contact centres are the first point of contact to their global industry-leading clients across 13 countries and across 6 continents. Their challenge is to deliver world-class service whilst minimising downtime. If their systems are down and they fail their SLAs, they incur severe financial penalties, which directly impacts on their revenue and profitability. StarTech delivers a call centre application to hundreds of locations across the US. Their revenue directly results from the use of their applications within their clients. StarTech found that on average, it took 1.5 hours for a customer to notify them when the app was either down or the app performance was so bad that they could no longer effectively work on it. And the resulting financial penalties cost them $1.5 million annually. StarTech came to Login VSI to solve this problem, and with a synthetic user installed at each location, they continuously test and know immediately when any application is performing out with the expected thresholds. Now, they're now able to identify system problems as early and urgently get that information to the right support staff to take corrective action. The solution has saved them millions in penalties, increased customer satisfaction, and improved their customer retention. And performance of your virtual desktops and applications. We place a synthetic user on your production environment alongside your real users. The synthetic user comes with an out-of-the-box workload, which simulates a real employee carrying out their day-to-day work. So, for example, it will carry out tasks in the Microsoft Office tools such as opening an email in Outlook or editing a spreadsheet in Excel. The workload also performs certain Windows operating system tasks like opening Paint, the Notepad, the calculator, or opening a zip file. All of these have timers, and as the test executes continuously, the system collects the data and presents it back. Let's take a look at a simplified version of their Login PI dashboard. At a glance, we see the performance at each location. The synthetic user workloads are able to report when there are application failures, logon performance issues, and latency above threshold. The location with the most issues is automatically moved into the top left of the view to highlight it. StarTech turned to Login PI to actively measure and track the user experience at each application for each client in every location and make it visible to everybody within the IT support team. In this example, when StarTech drilled down into the application performance dashboard, they can see the performance threshold for Excel spreadsheets has been exceeded in creating the first row in the Excel spreadsheet. Now the IT support team can take the fastest possible corrective action. As the system continually tests, the results can be gathered over an hour, a day, or a week, or a month. And once they understand what a good logon time looks like in terms of a duration in seconds, StarTech attributed acceptable logon thresholds and set up automated alerts. StarTech have been able to differentiate themselves in a highly competitive outsourcing market by using a predictive user experience insights and taking proactive action to make sure that the changes to their environment improve performance before real users notice. This has led them to winning significant new business contracts and recognition as a customer as a service BPO leader. Let's think back to the slide where we talked about the VDI stack, and I gave the examples of Windows 10 updates happening twice yearly and the rate of software application updates accelerating as people adopt DevOps. Well, the other aspect of our solution tests the performance of the system to make sure that the infrastructure can cope with the changes. We recommend that you load test in either one of your non-production environments, such as your test or your pre-production, to avoid any impact to real users. The Login VSI synthetic user starts sessions in the target environment one by one. Then by gradually increasing the number of simulated users, the system eventually becomes saturated. Once the system is saturated, the response times increase significantly. This latency we see in the session response times is a clear indication of whether the system is close to becoming overloaded. So by nearly overloading a system, it's possible to find out what the true maximum user capacity is. And we call this the VSI max. Now, VSI max is the industry standard for virtual desktop infrastructure, and it's used by all the large VDI vendors such as Citrix and VMware to size the environment. By getting a baseline of your system performance, you can then test regularly as part of your change management process to measure the impact that this has on performance and take corrective action. And all from the safety of a pre-production system before releasing any changes into production and affecting real users. In a recent 2-week POC with a global investment firm, they've been able to tune their baseline performance and get a 30% increase in the number of users per host. To give you a flavour of what results you could expect to get in your own environment, we performed a series of tests in our lab. Everything was kept the same in each test with the exception of the version of Microsoft Office we installed. The VSI max for Microsoft Office 2010 is 148, and that means that you can expect to get 148 users per host. If we then change the Microsoft Office version to 2013, you see that the system resources required are much higher, and therefore only 114 users can fit on one host. You can imagine how much extra hardware you're going to have to buy to cover your entire user population. If we then change to Microsoft Office 2016, this time the user density increases slightly to 125. And finally, Microsoft Office 2019 comes in at VSI max of 130. From this, what we can confidently conclude is that there is absolutely no way to predict how the version of Microsoft Office Suite will impact the number of users and the available hardware without actually testing it, performance testing. So why stick with SLAs when you could differentiate from your competition with the right tools and the right process to delight your end users with a move to XLAs? I hope this has sparked some ideas, and now I'd like to hand over to our Login VSI's main UK business partner, Intelligere, so you can hear how you can put these newly sparked ideas into action with the help of Intelligere's implementation knowledge and practical experience. Martin Powell, Chief Technology Officer, is the driving force behind improving IT user experience and moving to XLAs for Intelligere. His solution architecture background and impressive client base mean you're going to be in good hands. Over to you, Martin.
Thanks, Lorna. So we've heard how experience level agreements can now be calculated by proactively analysing key performance indicators that influence the end user experience with IT resources such as hardware, software performance, and associated user behaviour. So unlike SLAs, which focus on service availability and reliability from a server or application perspective, XLAs now establish expectations for service performance from a user perspective. The benefit of the SLA model has always been that failure and success are easy to measure, allowing you to establish clear goals and set thresholds in a binary manner, such as is the service up or down, with results easily visualized as traffic light scenarios. The amber status is often calculated based upon reviewing how many times did the service break, how many hours was it down for, how quickly was it restored, did any of these breach service level agreements. So rarely focusing on the user experience of the service during the good times. The user experience indicators are often based upon an assessment of service desk calls against time to fix arrangements and collecting data by asking employees to rate their experience with IT. But while this feedback is valuable for understanding how service quality is perceived, it doesn't offer a robust, unbiased view for continuous improvement or allow you to easily identify which resources are causing poor quality of service. But more importantly, all these are reactive measures. They're all after the event, really. So unlike SLAs, modern experience level agreements require means of quantifying employee experience. We've seen how Login VSI allows us to proactively or even preemptively track user interactions with all components of IT, as well as the performance of them resources, including hardware, operating system, application, peripherals, network, and more. And this is all using consistent synthetic user processing running 24/7, 365. This detailed, consistent monitoring can be analysed to provide user experience validation that provides an easy to understand indicator for establishing real XLAs. A good user experience is a critical success factor to all server-based computing, virtual desktop environment, and desktop as a service deployments. Login BSI is the industry standard in VDI performance monitoring. The load testing and active monitoring solutions of Login BSI are all based on industry standard patented virtual user technology. So as the sole UK consulting partner for Login BSI, Intelligere can ensure our customers gain maximum benefit from their investment in understanding the common issues that affect our customers and work with the IT and services team on leveraging the technology based upon recommended practices from the field. Marcus, I'll hand over to you at this stage.
Thank you, Martin. So Lorna and Martin, many thanks for your presentations. There's some very valuable and interesting points there. We do have a number of questions that have come through on the chat function. What we're going to do is write to you all individually in the next couple of hours, and we'll endeavour to answer your questions that way. So to close things off, we'd just like to thank everyone for joining us and for our presenters in giving us the information that they have. We do have more webinars planned and we'll be publicising those in the usual ways. So thank you all very much for your time, and until the next time.